Hello and welcome to Insights from an Autistic. I'm Arman Khodaei, a 24-year-old who was once diagnosed as having autism but has mostly overcome the challenges pertaining to autism. Today's episode we'll be talking about employment services for those with autism. The first half of my video will discuss employment for Southern California, and then afterwards I will discuss other employment ideas and opportunities. So please continue watching this video even if you do not live in Southern California. So to start off, I would just like to let people know that I'm currently serving on a task force committee for the California State Senate, and I am serving on a specific area for actually employment. So I have just recently started to dip my fingers into the whole employment aspect for autism. I am very well aware that there's very little out there. Well, there's a lot out there in terms of employment, but the knowledge and stuff and the know-how is very limited when it comes to adult services and employment, all that. One of my main focuses serving on this task force is to help give up my ideas and input, and ultimately we're working towards getting what's out there to get more stuff through the colleges and to get more things from the employers, get a better system going, to better serve employers and individuals with autism to help them get jobs and maybe get some legislation passed. So that's sort of what I'm doing. I just started doing that, so it's pretty fresh. I've only started to learn about the various employment services out there, but I will tell you about them. So depending on the level of the person, the cognitive level, social skills level, etc., there's different employment opportunities. For those that might be a little bit more low function, from what I've heard, there's Pomona Valley Workshop in Southern California, and I will provide the link for that. That link will be below in the area where I talk about the description of the video. So Pomona Valley Workshop, from what I told, though, they tend to be a little bit more sheltered depending on where you are. So for those that are a little bit higher up on the spectrum, it can be, it might not be the best thing, but they're providing a wonderful service. There's also other employment venues for those that are a little bit higher function but maybe haven't had college, haven't gone through college, whatever, etc. I do not know the names of those services quite yet, but there are two employment services, autis.org, autismjobs.com, and those are provided below along with the Pomona Valley Workshop link. I know very little about these two organizations except for that they supposedly claim to provide job services, and so if you know anything about them, please tell me in the comment box. If not, look into them if you're having difficulties getting a job, because they probably can help you. Then for those that have like a college education or going through college, there's a company called Creative Employment, which helps individuals with autism in a specialized field to get their job. I do not have a link for that at this time, unfortunately, so I apologize. Now, moving further, some questions to ask ourselves as parents and individuals with autism is, for example, let's say your child is going through high school, college, whatever. How can the high schools or colleges better prepare the student for school? Now, this question was kind of inspired by the task force meeting that I attended. And, what's in place? What are they doing for regular people without autism in high school, college, etc.? And so, one of the things, if they're not doing much, if there's very little in place, we have to talk about them, working on the special needs of the individual with autism, trying to create a system. If you're on the PTA, try to propose something, or if you're on a college board, whatever, etc., propose some sort of thing to help not just yourself or your child, but to help the whole spectrum, all individuals with autism that are going through that particular school, to help them get jobs in the future. I know there's a lot of employment things in place, but they're mostly in place for people without autism. Some of the issues that I know that come up, especially in task force, and that I noticed that I have, and I think other people have, is that we know what needs to be done, but when it comes to filling out those job applications or looking into jobs, etc., it's overwhelming. It's like, I know what I need to do, but I just can't do it. And so we need people to help us with that aspect. And so there needs to be people to help us address those particular aspects. Now, moving on, the next question becomes, let's say we have the job interview process, and so should we allow the employer know up front that we have autism? A lot of people with autism do let the employer know, and if you're going through an autism employment service, they will let the employer know as well. I have maybe only been upfront 1 or 2 times with my employer, and I don't think it's really affected their opinion of me. Though usually at some point later on, I do let the employer know. Now, some of the advantages of letting the employer know is that they'll have a better idea if you have tantrums or something can come up. They're better prepared for it. They know you better, and you let them know in advance. Now, sometimes even when you let them know in advance, they can be very surprised when something happens that you told them about. But at least you prepared them. If you don't let them know in advance and you do something crazy, they're probably going to fire you. If you tell them in advance, you'll be less likely to be fired. Though there's a disadvantage, and that is that discrimination definitely does exist in the employment arena. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine who attends my support group, whose name I will not give out, was going to have an interview, but the person refused to interview them, or maybe they did interview them, I can't remember. I think they did interview them, and they said, I will not hire someone with autism. And they were not educated about what autism was or anything like that, to the best of my knowledge, but they even told the job coach that this person was working with that they would not hire someone with autism. Now, as illegal as it is, it still exists. I personally think that the person with autism should have sought legal action in that case, but they did not. And not legal action to necessarily get settlement money or anything like that, but because what the employer did was totally wrong, to discriminate like that. But so discrimination does exist, and most employers will likely be much more smart than to be upfront to the job coach and say, I won't hire someone without autism, because it is illegal to outright discriminate against a disability, at least in the United States of America, because there are federal laws to protect against that. So, moving on, I also, one of the things, like I said, I allow later on I usually tell the employer about my autism. One way I go about doing this is I actually have an essay that I wrote. It's not written for employers. It's an essay that I've had published and republished a couple of times. It has been well received. And so even if you're not interested in reading an essay for ideas for an employer, I really recommend that you read it because it gives some greater insights into my mind, and it can help you possibly, and a lot of people like it. So that essay, Boy in Wonderland, has been provided along with the other 3 links. The links for Pomona Valley Workshop, Autis.org, which is an employment agency, and autismjobs.com. So now moving on, there's the economy issue. Right now, a lot of people, especially the media, portrays the media as being in shambles, people having a hard time with jobs. And how does this affect employment for people with autism? Now, I think if you're someone with autism who has a college degree trying to get a higher level job, it may be a little bit more difficult, it may not be. But I think the biggest thing holding people back is fear. I think it actually could be a lot easier in some ways to get a job with autism because of the fact that there are federal things in place to guarantee that people with autism do get jobs. And so a lot of times people with autism don't even try. It's like, well, they're like, it's impossible, the economy is bad to get a job. It's like, well, have you even tried? And then the answer is, no, I've not tried. Well, try first and then say the economy is bad. And so going through a job coach or someone that can help you get a job might help. But even those who have those, I know, are still having some difficulties getting a job. But nonetheless, I still believe it is very possible to get a job even in this economy. So that is all that I pretty much have to say because we're running out of time. I thank you for watching this video. Hopefully it has been of some use. There will probably be a follow-up video in a few months from now because I still have a great deal to learn about the whole employment stuff. I know there's a lot more out there, and I intend to get that information out to you. So thank you. Have a most awesome day of awesomeness, and happy new decade.